Costs and sales. The objective of this lesson is to understand what are variable and fixed costs and investments. Learn to calculate your own cost and incomes. Analyze the need of capital and to learn to make a budget. Different costs. There are two different kinds of costs, variable and fixed costs. And when we summarize them together, we get the total costs. What is the difference with variable and fixed costs? As you can see in the picture, fixed cost does not change according to your sales or production, but the level of fixed cost remains the same even you have a lot of sales or little sales, lot of production or little production. That is the principle of fixed costs. Variable costs, like you can see, changes after your sales or production. The more you produce, the more you sell, the more you have variable costs. That is the principle of variable costs. Total costs, as you can see, are calculated fixed and variable costs together. When you put them together, you get the total costs. Investment. Investment is usually a one-time cost which we expect produce incomes in the future to us. So a cost which produce sales and incomes in the future. That is an investment. Example, we are running a restaurant and we buy electricity. That is a cost, not an investment. But if we buy a generator to produce the electricity, it is an investment, one-time cost to produce money in the future. Income. Income is the money we get from our products or services when we sell them to our customers. Units times euros by units is income. Example, we sell 20 cups of coffee in our restaurant with €1 per cup. Our income is 20 cups times 1 cup is €20. That is our income. So units times the money per unit. And in this picture, you can see the illustration how the incomes are growing after sales by sales. Profit. We make profit if our incomes are bigger than our costs. And vice versa, we make loss if our incomes are smaller than our costs. To keep our business running and to develop our business, we need to have a profit to run our business. To have a profit needs to be the goal and one purpose of our company. Break-even point. This is a very important issue. Break-even point is the amount of products or services we produce and sell that just cover all the costs, fixed and variable. If we operate at break-even point, our company does not make loss but neither have any profit. So in the break-even point there is no loss or profit. It is break-even like the name says. And in this picture you have an illustration about break-even point. You can see the income line, you can see the total cost line, and the blue area, it is the profit area, and in the red circle you can see the break-even point. Capital. Businesses are funded by capital, either own or from the lenders. Banks, private people, etc. Capital is needed for investments and to cover the costs in the beginning before there are not yet the profits. How much capital? How much money you need in the beginning? We need capital for premises, example, a restaurant, machines, professional coffee maker, card device, etc. Equipments, tables and chairs, cups, and all these examples are from the coffee shop. And fourthly, working capital. 3 to 6 months total cost. We need money to run the business without the income for 3 to 6 months. That is the working capital. Budgeting. Simple budgeting process. Make a list of your necessary investments. Second, make a list of necessary fixed costs. Thirdly, find out your variable cost per unit. And last, fourthly, calculate the break-even point sales. This is the simple principle of budgeting. Budgeting investments. How to budget your investments. How to know how much you need to reserve money to cover the investment costs. Make a list of your necessary investments. Example, your coffee shop needs coffee machine, tables, chairs, service table, etc. What are the costs for those items? What is the total amount? Example, it can be 10,000 euros and we use that amount here. Bank loan for this sum with 5% interest rate with 5 years time to pay back means that in the year it is 2,500 euros you need to reserve money to cover the investment. 2,000 euros is to pay back the loan. 5 years, 2,000 euros per year, it makes 10,000 euros. And the interest rate was 5%, and from out of 10,000, 5% is 500 per year, and it is 208.33 euros per month. So when you calculate your investments in your budget, you reserve 2,500 a year or 208 euros 0.33 cents per month. Budgeting fixed cost. Make a list of fixed costs like electricity, rent, insurances, salaries, etc. Cost you pay every month, per week, whether you make sales or not. Example, coffee shop rent 800 a month, electricity 200 a month, insurance 800 a year, 66.67 euros per month, salary for one worker 900 euros, total 1,966.67 euros per month, and 23,600 euros per year. Budgeting variable costs. What is your variable costs? Example, you make 1 cup of coffee, it costs you 20 cents, with sugar, milk, etc. included. And you sell it for 1 euro, you buy 1 muffin with 70 cents from bakery and you sell it for 2 euros. You sell 1 coffee and 1 muffin together and we call that a unit. 1 cup of coffee, 1 muffin, it's 1 unit. And you get 3 euros out of that. And the cost for that unit for you is 90 cents. The profit will be 2 euros 10 cents for you. Budgeting break-even point. Investment for you cost 2,500. Fixed costs 23,600 euros. Total cost in the first level is 26,100. Your profit from coffee and muffin is €2.10. How many units you need to sell to cover the total costs, 26,100? We calculate it, and as you can see, it gives us 12,428.57 units per year. That means 1,035.71 units per month. And we have used 12 months in the year, so no holidays in this calculation. 258.92 units per week, and we have used 4 weeks in a month. So, if your coffee shop is open 6 days, a week, 10 hours a day, you need to sell 4.32 units every hour. 4.32 units every hour. If your coffee shop is open 6 days a week, 10 hours a day, that is the outcome to you. And as you can see, now it is the summary of break-even point. Investments 2,500, fixed cost 23,600, total costs first level 26,100, variable cost 12,429 units times 90 cents makes 11,186 euros, and the total costs too is 37,286 euros. And how many units we need to sell with 3 euros to cover that cost? We need to sell 12,429 units with 3 euros to cover 37,287 euros. Budgeting summary. We started to calculate from the bottom to up. From the cost we know. Investments and fixed costs. Then we calculated our profit margin and variable costs. Finally, we can calculate the amount of units per euros we need to sell to make break even, or maybe 1,000 euros profit. We know for sure the cost, but sales we need to estimate. We know how much we would have to sell. So this is the principle once again. We know the costs, fixed cost and investments. We can calculate the variable costs, and we can calculate the sales. And we start from the bottom to up. And it's good to start with the break-even point budgeting. Then you can add 1,000 euro profit, 100,000 euro profit, whatever you like. But make sure you know what is the break-even point for your company. Thank you.